All right, we have some new folks joining, so y'all feel free to drop your name, where you're calling in from, and any fun summer plans. I know that's fast approaching. It doesn't feel like it, but it is. So if you guys are going on a cool vacation or just hanging with the fam, feel free to drop those plans in the chat. All right, y'all. Well, it is 5:30. We're going to go ahead and get started. We have a lot to cover today. We have an amazing special guest. I'm really excited for y'all to meet her and hear all about her school. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and get started. All right. Well, welcome, welcome. This is our BAG webinar, just kind of an overview of what we'll cover today. It's going to be a super conversational and kind of practical overview of what ERA does, especially in regards to BAG. We're going to spend a few minutes introducing ERA and Alice. Then most of our time will really be focused on how they've built behavior, attendance, and growth into kind of one connected student experience using ClassBank. And then we'll leave some time at the end for questions and takeaways. Alice has been really generous. She is definitely a servant leader in that she would love if you kind of leave questions throughout the way, and that can kind of guide our conversation as well. So feel free to get active in that chat. And kind of what I'm most excited about today is that this isn't kind of theoretical. Alice is going to be drawing on her real experience and her real kind of structure at her school to make all of this come alive. So really practical tips, which is awesome. Wanted to ground us all today, though, with what is BAG. I know that's something that Alice has been doing for a while at ERA, and some of you might have been doing as well, but this might be new for some people. So when we say BAG, we simply mean behavior, attendance, and grades. And schools everywhere are working on these three areas constantly, but often through separate systems. And so what ERA has done really well is connect these all together into one shared student experience instead of isolated initiatives. And honestly, that's why I was so excited for this conversation because I think a lot of schools are trying to figure this out. How do we make these priorities feel connected for students instead of just one more thing also for staff? And so ERA does an amazing job of this, and I'm super excited to kind of hand it over to Alice and walk through her system. So, without further ado, today's special guest is Alice LeJeune from Evangeline Reimagine Academy in Louisiana. Alice, give me a quick introduction all about you.
Hi, Harlan and staff and cast and all the crew. Thank you for joining us on this, probably after a very long day at the end of a very long year of instruction. So my name is Alice Lejeune, and I am a founding principal of a middle school in Evangeline Parish in the great old hot state of Louisiana. We are in our third year of operation, and we were a product of a grant that was written by our superintendent for a need that our schools, we had a failing school, and it was consecutive for almost 10 years, actually. And so before the state came in to take over, he wrote a grant. They awarded the grant and said, hey, fix it. And what were the problems? Well, you got behavior issues, you had attendance issues, and if you can't sit still in the chair and you can't act right, well, then you're not going to grow academically. So we had to come up with a system that was going to figure out and reimagine how we do school. How are we going to get them to want to come to school? How are we going to get them to sit still in the chair? And how are we going to incentivize them to grow academically? In other words, enjoy learning without realizing what they're doing. And so we are a middle school that serves grades 6, 7, and 8. We serve a population of over 165 kids. We are 100% free and reduced lunch. And so when we began this journey, we did some research. We traveled to different neighboring states to kind of see how they do it and then marry it to what our vision would be. One of the goals whenever we began this school was, okay, we need to teach these students how to have real life skills. What can we do? What are the big takeaways? We know we're not producing a major crop of university students. We live, again, in a low socioeconomic situation where we have to teach our kids how to survive. Okay. And so one of those things as well, we have to figure out how we're going to teach them to live in a system where they can manage money, where they can make decisions, and where there's consequences for actions based on whatever decision they make, whether it's positive, negative, challenging, or rewarding, and what comes with that. And so when we built our system of real world practical things, it was very important that we came up with a system that was accessible, easy for everybody to use, familiar, trackable, friendly, communicated with Google, communicated with our SIS system. And ClassBank fit that. It was very affordable for us as we began our journey with our grant. It was very friendly to use, and the teachers bought into it right away, and we were able to hit the ground running. So a little backstory, I guess, to that, and I'm sure we're going to get into systems and all that fun stuff a little bit later. But as a leader, and if most of you are joining here as leaders of a school, you know that consistency and accountability are a big deal. And if we're going to teach this to our students, as far as buying into the system, that's going to be your number one. And so, as a systematic leader, we had to build in collectively with my teachers. We sat there, we created our vision, we created our mission, and we started off with what was valuable to us, and then we built it around what our values could be, what our common values are. We knew that we had to be consistent. Consistency was key. And so we built that into our handbooks. We monitor the system sporadically. We came up with how we were going to be as practical as possible. And we did that. We established what we would know as our minimum wage. And we said, okay, kids, we're going to be real lifelike. You're going to be paid, and you're going to get paid. And then you're going to spend this money on all kind of things. And they're like, well, what kind of things? You tell us what you want in some cases. And then in other cases, we're going to go on excursions, because that's what we call field trips, because we reimagine everything. We built our program not only around math, science, social studies, and ELA. We also introduced 5 particular magnet or learning zones that's going to take the kids outside of the classroom. But how do you get outside the classroom? You behave, you attend, you grow. And so I'm going to kind of pause right there, Harlan, because I know that that video I have, it's one thing to hear it from me, but it's a true testimony to hear it from those who are living it and who are doing it. And so we've embedded a couple of videos so you don't hear my little Louisiana twang the entire time. So we're going to show you what Reimagine is, how we came to be, how do we use it, and then we'll pick up from there, if that's okay with you.
Sounds amazing. And y'all are in for a treat. Again, you get all these slides too, so you can watch this documentary over again, but it's amazing their story and really gives some context.
ERA is just different. We're just different. ERA is just different. We just different. We're just different. Like it's a different environment here. We have a lot of fun. The kids are learning a lot. We do a lot of hands-on things, and it's just really good.
At Evangeline Reimagine Academy, we help students find their purpose to become unstoppable. My name is Alice LeJeune, and I'm the principal at the Evangeline Reimagine Academy. So one of my biggest tasks as the leader of the Lions was to establish a culture of positivity, a culture where everybody kind of wanted to be here. We assembled a team of teachers in the spring of 2023.
These are some of the best coworkers that I have had ever in my life.
We have a very collaborative approach to culture.
I was impressed because I hadn't met most of them before, and we kind of like bonded like a family on the same day we met each other.
As the road to Reimagine continues, we're on a jet plane actually to Texas, and we basically were able to study schools and bring their models and their ideas and marry them to our concepts that we had uncovered here in Evangeline Parish. Together, we all crafted a master plan that became called the Evangeline Reimagine Academy. As we progressed, we ran into a couple of roadblocks with our building. Our permanent location is under construction as we do this interview. We're very excited to watch the progress, and we know that the building is going to be just as big and beautiful and better than ever, just like our little Lion family is here.
It took a lot of hard work with some really great people. Our school board was super supportive, and we are so very excited to push this wall down. Like, we are going to be pushing this with all our heart and soul.
But we have taken the space and transformed it into a place where you do not feel like you anywhere but the academy. Over that summer, we had Teacher Tuesdays, and teachers came during the summertime to not only transform our new space with paint parties,
whenever we got the request from our principal, we already knew how much work she was putting in. We want her to see that we're here and ready to work with her as well. In fact, she wasn't even here. She had to go to a meeting. So we came as a staff and just painted her whole school for her. And I love that. That was so beautiful to me.
We were excited to learn that the governor at the time was John Bell Edwards, had come over personally to our temporary site, our location, and was able to cut our ribbon and get the party started. So we appreciated all of the delegates that came. We had helicopters land on the field. We had media here giving us publicity. And we had our partners, our Evangeline Bank and Trust Company, who is our partner that helped with our board of directors. We had the Chamber of Commerce, who has so graciously been in our court and our side and has promoted our concept. What set us apart from the rest is the creation of our zone.
I would say the biggest part of Reimagine Academy are our zones.
It's definitely the zones. Yeah, the zones are undefeated.
I am Kate Lacaz, and I am the art zone instructor. My name is Chloe Fontenot, and I'm the performing zone instructor.
I am Terrell Smith, and I am the communication zone instructor.
My name is Stephen Lacaz. I am the gaming zone teacher at ERA.
I would say the best part about ERA are the zones.
We knew that we had to have something special. We wanted the kids to want to come to school, to want to be here.
I have a speech. I like it.
So in the communication zone, we focus a lot on the writing, the speech, and the broadcasting skills. With our writing is outlining, gathering our thoughts on paper, script writing, and with speech, of course, we focus on the clarity, articulating words, levels, and tones. And the broadcasting is how you conduct yourself whenever a camera or microphone is in front of you.
The art zone focuses on the visual arts, of course, along the lines of drawing, painting, sculpting, building, designing, just pretty much all around visual arts.
Here at ERA, the kids are very fortunate to have access not only to your traditional curriculum, but also have the advantages of participating in zones such as communications, arts, forming, and gaming. They love gaming.
The zone separates from everyone. You got the gaming zone. That's enough right there.
It's never been done before, like how we're doing it in the state of Louisiana. And I'm introducing a new type of career that kids could possibly be involved with later in their lives with game design. I'm not putting them in here to play games all day. I'm putting them in here to learn a skill that they could possibly use in any aspect. Art and creation is something you can use anywhere.
My students are focusing on horticulture and agriculture. So each of my classes are in charge of a garden bed that they take care of. They're also learning how to do different projects with the dehydrator and the freeze dryer. Like recently, my students just made their own seasoning blends with some herbs that they grew. And we dehydrated them in the dehydrator. We also have greenhouses in the farming zone where we're making starter plants and we grow plants out of season. We also have chickens that we take care of. So the kids are learning how to take care of the chickens, and it's like a real working farm over here. So we stay pretty busy.
We identified a financial platform that would incentivize students to want to come here and also make the decision on how that they would spend their money from doing their job of being a student.
So class equity pretty much teaches me to make good money decisions. We earn our money through jobs, attendance, again, save money, spend money, all the good stuff. I saved up $7,000.
I saved up over 6,000.
So the students did have to be responsible with their money and save up $1,000 to pay for their learning excursions, which takes place through the zones every 9 weeks. This is where we take our students off campus to learn more about their zones on a much larger scale.
I would say that my favorite excursion was to the Civic Center. We learned how to get inspiration from one game and apply them to our games.
The radio station added Sandra with the best excursion knowledge. What we learned out there is how the radio station operates.
With our class equity, we get to buy things that we want. We could buy uniform passes, recess rooms, and food passes.
The recess rooms are definitely something different.
You can't do it at any other school. It's gaming. He beat gaming for recess.
So everything has been student driven, and basically the teachers are the GPS to their little vehicles. We're just going where they need us to go.
So the original vision of ERA was to also kind of create a student council where we elect 2 representatives from each zone to represent those students in that zone. They would hear out all of the ideas that other kids had. For example, in the gaming zone would talk to their representatives and the representatives would bring it to a weekly meeting.
As a student board member, sharing ideas was enjoyable. Our input matters because it has an effect on everyone and everything around the school. Collaborating with other board members was different from what I experienced.
Our student board members were also responsible for creating a business plan and executing that plan for our marketing expo. The purpose of the marketing expo was to promote our students and their entrepreneurship with their products in their community. We had the parents, we had the community come out and see not only what the students were doing, but for them to have the opportunity to speak with our students. They were able to purchase product and see what it is at ERA that makes us different from everybody else.
So there's days where you could walk in and the students are getting their breakfast and the cafeteria lady's going to be singing and having a good time and handing their breakfast on their way in. During a Mardi Gras, which is a local festival here, you're going to have people doing the dance to the Mardi Gras to get their morning started.
We've had a Mardi Gras parade down the hallway, and we're just giving the students all these cool opportunities to push more of their talents out to the community and show all of the hard work that we know that they're capable of.
My why is to wake up every morning and I have the awesome responsibility to be the leader of the Lions. I never know what my day holds. And that's what drives me to keep coming here every day, because somebody always needs, somebody always wants, and I want to be that piece of the puzzle. It helps define helping kids find their purpose, becoming unstoppable. That's our business.
So, I'm kind of laughing because this video, let me just share with you, is now going on 3 years old. It was in our very much of our birth infancy stage. It has grown substantially. And if you notice, it referenced ClassBank as class equity. That's how old we are. So we started out as class equity and it transformed into ClassBank as things change or whatnot. We were actually in a school within a school design. So we had 2 campuses actively running together. This year, though, I'm proud to say we are finally in our dedicated space where you saw us pushing our wall down. So yay. And we're able to kind of reimagine some of our spaces. We have actual storefront that we'll share with you here shortly. But I think one of the biggest things is, how does this look? You hear the kids talk about it. And so we'll go to the next slide and talk about what does that daily kind of look like? What is the daily role of the student? So when we reimagined how we were going to set up our school, yes, we have the zones, but what was our daily schedule where was this going to be all built in? How is this going to look? And so what we do, our students have a 10-to-1 ratio in the morning, which is what we call teaming, and we do breakfast in the classroom. So you saw the ladies dancing and whatnot. They hand out the breakfast in the morning as our little welcome committee, and they head to their classroom where it's a 10-to-1 ratio, and they visit with the teachers. Hey, how was your night? What's your plans? It's just like we call it family time, whether it's a community circle talking about things that are happening in the community or what's happening in their own daily. It's a very small interpersonal setting. They'll do their breakfast. They'll do their banking. At that time, we are 1-to-1 Chromebook district. So they'll pull out those Chromebooks. They'll do their deposits, and then they'll start their day. It's kind of like budgeting their checkbook every day. And then they move on to their classroom settings, which is a 20-to-1 ratio. So there's another mentor there in their little lives. And then we open up our store at the beginning of 5th period. That is after our lunchtime. All deposits should have been made. So they go back as like a bell ringer of that 5th period, and they're able to purchase their recess rooms, which are offered in our convenient zones. Which any student, so let me kind of take a step back here. All students on this campus are assigned to a zone as part of the curriculum. So if a student is assigned to art, they're in art for this entire year. They can switch year after year, but for 1 year, it's part of their curriculum. They go through it daily and they go through that particular program. But let's say a student was like, oh, but I really wanted gaming because, I'm good at that or whatnot. Students still have the ability to go and participate in the gaming, in the communications, in the forming through recess rooms. So they still get a taste or a drip, if you will, of the other learning experiences, but their curriculum that they study is going to be specific to one of those zones a year, in addition to their math, English, science, and social studies. So our students, you talked about a zone board of directors, they're the student voice. When they're going to open up that Chromebook and they have to figure out what they're going to purchase, it's because we've heard what they want. You might see that they're going to do VR one day. They might be making pancakes in the forming zone. They do some blind taste tests with the seasonings they grow with the herbs. Our communication zone will go and film those reactions. It's pretty priceless. Um, or it will create Mother's Day cards, or they're just going to have their own way of expressing things. And of course, culinary is always cooking it up. But that's because what they're doing in those particular times comes from their student voice. We'll put out surveys. The best way to collect that qualitative data is through surveys, and we'll hear from them. Our zone board meets once a week on Wednesdays, and that's where they run their board meetings and they talk about, hey, what do you want to see? What do you want to change? What do you want to do? What worked well, what didn't work? They debrief and they move on. So we have a lot of student voice. Again, our store is thematic. We did an attendance pool during the Super Bowl, just off the top of my head. So students signed in their little attendance pool, and then they had the ability ahead of the game to buy, I think they had croc charms. They had all kinds of things that were specific to the two teams color wise, so that when they left that weekend, if they had nothing, at least they could dress in the colors or get the little trinkets and stuff that we sold for that Super Bowl Sunday. And then they paid attention to the game because they had an attendance pool and they had treats waiting if they won that pool. So we try to keep it interactive, why do I want to go to school? What's in it for me type thing. And unfortunately, it's just the society we live in. It's a what's in it for me thing. And so we try to be as interactive as possible. My teachers are really good at donating to the store. We'll do incentives. A lot of the things that our students don't have the luxury is a big income. And so they rely on government assistance, and there's new restrictions with government assistance. And so what we'll do is our teachers will donate things, whether it's little Debbie snack cakes, little mini sodas or whatnot, every now and then through our PBIS system. I'll trade jean passes for them because teachers love that. Or like an off dress or something, some sort of incentive, a lunch by themselves, whatever it may be, in exchange for donating to our store. So our kids then visit that store every day. They do their deposits every day. We run a report as soon as that fifth period is over. So we know how many kids are going to be cooking in culinary, how many people are going to be going to VR, how many people are going to be going to our theater. We also have a theater. They get to watch little movies in there, in our communications department. So we'll know right away who's going where, and then my zone teachers can prepare accordingly. We allow those students to get out of class a couple of minutes early. We also do snacks. So we do breakfast, lunch, and snack. They grab their snacks and they get out of class a little early. So another incentive to buy recess rooms. I think the biggest challenge for us from the jump was how much we're going to pay these kids and how much we're going to charge for the services that we're going to offer. And so what we did is we did a simulation, just like the real world. We have a minimum wage kind of numeric value that we put to their behavior and their attendance. And that is something that the teachers chart every day. And then their grades and growth component, that third one, is something that is bundled every 3 weeks with progress reports, depending on their performance. So at the beginning of the year, just like they begin a job, we're getting paid every day in a probationary period. Then after 2 weeks, after they've built that up and see how the system's going to work, because in any middle school system, elementary, high school, anything, practice makes perfect. And so redundancy equals clarity. And so we practice for 2 straight weeks. Teachers practice paying, students practice depositing and purchasing, and we practice running the reports and getting in the groove. After that, we moved to a weekly pay system, just like the real world. And so the students then, it was less cumbersome for the teachers after that 2 week period to just do a drop once a week. And then the students had to do those deposits just once a week, where it wasn't so much. But they still access it every day because they might not get to everything on day one. It's a time management thing, and they have to figure what that looks like for them. So we use that data. They drive our recess rooms. I'm able to check to see, hey, we had these conversations with the kids because you heard in the video too, they take 4 excursions a year, and they have to fund that. So when we first started class equity, there was no savings component. So the kids then had to kind of in their mind think, well, I need to make sure I have this much money so I can fund my excursion. Well, ClassBank has evolved and we have a savings component. So we were able to actually introduce that to our students. So now they manage 2 systems. They push them to the side for savings and then they pay for their recess rooms. So I think price setting was our biggest challenge, to kind of think, what is our value and what are our services going to add up to make sure it was affordable. and that they weren't like, oh, well, I can't afford it, I'm not doing this anyway. And just to make sure that their needs were satisfied and they had something to invest their earnings in, on a immediate return investment and then another long-term goal investment. So that's kind of how we came up with how we were going to use it on a daily. We knew we didn't want those papers that they stuff in places we don't want to go. The dirty hands, the spreading of germs, thanks COVID. And so this cashless, if you will, way of doing it was really convenient, I should say.
Amazing. And I think what is really inspiring about the way that you so intentionally kind of thought of this and how to integrate with all of your systems is that in the spirit of B.A.G, of course, behavior is kind of covered by that PBIS implementation that comes with those bonuses and fines. Attendance, you are paying them at clocking in for students. And honestly, you are one of the biggest inspirations for why we now have an attendance integration where when you take attendance in your SIS, students automatically get a paycheck. But I think what's really cool with that grades component is that you use the incentive structure and the student interest to really drive the enrichment that your curriculum brings. And that overlap, I feel like, is very key for that grades component. And again, what's been amazing is you have fit it all within one system, whether that's behavior for those B.A.G bonuses, attendance with students getting that reinforcement, and of course for those grades, because you are constantly reinforcing the curriculum that you set forth, which is amazing. Again, Alice is dropping some really great information. For time's sake, I'm going to kind of keep moving a little bit, but just re-hitting kind of this store structure. I think this is the coolest point. So if you could just do kind of a quick hit too of like all the different tiers, sounds like you're doing this every day. And even if you have tips for, schools that maybe don't have the capacity to do this every day, what are kind of the biggest tips you have from this list?
Well, I think you obviously want to know what they want, because if you want it to work, it's a what's in it for me type thing. What do they not have access to readily available? Paying attention to what's going on. Again, it's seasonal. Okay, Mother's Day's coming up. Oh, well, we're going to do jewelry making and art. We're going to make cards. We're going to do a commercial and put that out on our social media page to our moms, our guardians. Paying attention to what's going on in the world, and then they kind of like get excited and they buy in. And so like if it's Mardi Gras around here, or if it's a favorite festival wherever you may be located, what are some things that they might want to be a part of? For us, it's beads, and the more beads you have, the better off, right? So we'll sell some Mardi Gras goodies. We'll do Valentine's things. Of course, Christmas time, the kids always want to get, the Santa's workshop. Oh, I need to get something for my mama, and so, or my daddy, or my sister, or whoever. And so we're just very mindful of what we put in the store, and we want to make sure that they want to purchase and they come looking for that. Sometimes it's real food items. Not everybody has real money for canteen every day, and we understand that. And so you might find some little sweet treats in there. We have some pop-up shops. A lot of our students like to do hair. Just so happens my secretary is an esthetician by trade, and so she says, "I'm going to run the store." They paint nails someday because they don't have, so they get to pamper themselves for a little bit, learn how to curl and design on dolls their hair. So it just depends. We listen to the voice of our kids, and we go from there.
I love it. And again, I think there's so many directions that so many schools, even ones that aren't in the position that you were in, where you really were able to start that culture from the beginning, can really take away and look at, not necessarily running to dollar store and stocking those, but being intentional about items that you do buy, but also creating those experiences by leveraging your staff kind of gifts as well. Something else, sorry, these are all of the store things, amazing kind of pictures and ideas here, and kind of leaning into those zones as well. But something else that comes up a lot is what is the impact, especially on B.A.G? Right here is an example of ERA's impact report. Of course, amazing numbers. I expected nothing less, but would love to hear impact-wise the differences that you've seen, as well as kind of how that informs next year and preparing for rollout.
Right. So one of the things too, though, that I didn't really hit on, which is like our big to do, that all kind of ties in with our B.A.G. They have to pay for those 4 excursions. Well, what you didn't hear yet is that at the end of every year in these zones, we put on what's called a community market and expo. And so all the products that our students have been working on in art, the plants they've been growing and forming, the communication, we've written 2 books. The kids have written 2 books. Culinary crafts their own breads, brownies, roux, all kinds of things. We put on a market for the community. Okay. And so our students who are those zone board of directors, who are the student voices, they lead their zones, and they have to come up with a business plan. And that business plan has to detail those 4 excursions where 3 of them are research based of what they're going to offer to the community. And again, remember, they have to fund it to be a part of it. So basically, if they're not a part of it, the train's going to leave the station without them, and they're going to feel some type of way and try to catch up to get back on, which they can. But then that last excursion is the finale, the reward, the reap what you sow thing. And so, like yesterday, we have what's called Surge Entertainment. It's a Drew Brees. They get to go to trampoline park, they get to go in an arcade, and they do financial literacy in the arcade. I mean, it's all tied in, right? That was their celebration. And so these kids know that, hey, if I don't participate in these 3 learning excursions, I can't go celebrate. So I really need to get on my P's and Q's. There are some redemption opportunities where they get to come work the expo, and we expect there's a little expectation there. Hey, these are your products. You come, and we teach them how to speak. We teach them marketing. We teach them how to customer service. Um, and so you'll see some bonuses come out of that beyond the school activity that we kind of offer to them, and they absolutely love it and never want to leave. But we do a marketing expo, and that money that they make, the real money that they make, they use to reinvest in their products in their zones for the following year. So it's sustainability. It sustains our programs.
Amazing. And again, for the sake of time, we have all this information, so y'all will not go without. But looking at how you sustain it, what I've heard so far from you is, of course, that student engagement. I feel like the students really fuel you and your staff, and that's based on that amazing culture that you have built from the top down, which, again, I think a whole separate webinar for 3 hours would be something we could do about how you have built that culture and ingrained it in kind of everyday, duties and actions. But what, in terms of like overarching, what is your biggest tip for sustaining these systems at your school?
Well, with anything, you have to have buy-in. You have to have consistency, and you have to have buy-in. That's going to make things a whole lot easier. If you all on the same page, if you all have the same expectations, if it's spelled out, and if it's follow through, follow through. Don't just say, here, I'm going to pay, and then never give an opportunity for them to spend that money. It doesn't have to be every day. Yes, we're afforded that opportunity, and we're grateful. It could be weekly. It can, I guess, get a little cumbersome if you're not very familiar. One thing I would say, though, I know when we first started, we did not want to bite off more than we can chew. We knew we were starting in a new school. We knew we were a school within a school design. Everything was new. We were getting hit from all kind of corners. And so what we did is we took small baby steps. In year 1, we did our payment. Let's get practice of paying and using, and then the incentives. And then year 2, we built up a little bit more. And then in year 3, we've built up, even more. And so there's some things that we're even going to do differently for next year. Obviously, we look at data and we see what we need to revisit, what's a pain in the butt and what's nice and easy. And yes, we want to keep this. I'll tell you, I was never a fan of charging rent. So one of the abilities is to charge rent for a desk and a chair. I've always told them, I'm going to provide you with the needs you need. And in return, your job is to be a student. What does that mean? That means come to school, be responsible, be respectful, stay organized. We have our whole ROAR, our PBIS system in place. Do your job, and then you'll get paid for doing your job. So that's kind of the trade-off here. I'm going to give you what you need. You give me what I need. And together we're going to move in the same accord.
Amazing. Well, I think you really summed up all of the takeaways for us here, Alice. And we so appreciate your time tonight. I know you are so busy running a full school at the craziest time of year. So really appreciate you. And I know we're a little bit over, but no worries. If y'all have questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. We'll hang out for a few more minutes. So feel free to drop them. We'll be here to answer. And if you are good to go, you will get an email from me tomorrow morning with the recording, with the resources. Alice has been so generous in kind of providing resources too. So if you have questions specifically for her, happy to facilitate kind of that introduction or get those answers as well. But for now, feel free to fill out that exit ticket, drop some questions. And if I don't hear from you, have a great night.
We do have one question from Miss Ann.
Ooh.
I'm gonna massacre this name, Fajardo. I'm not sure. Do parents have access to their student's account? That answer to that question is, unless the student's given them that information and sharing that, I'm gonna go with no, we do not have that ability. It might be something that would be a future growth. It's a good point.
Yep. And we always recommend students' accounts don't talk to each other. They don't see other people's data. So you are always, what we always say is feel free to share student logins with parents. They have a nice kind of graph and bulleted list of their behavior and financial transactions. So that's a great place to review with parents as well. I saw Cassie had her hand up. Cassie, was that a mistake? We have a question. I also don't know how to take you off of mute. So give me a second.
Well, let me just apologize. I know it's a lot in a little bit of time, and there's so much to say, and I talk really
much.
fast. So my apologies.
Do not apologize. I feel like the more information, the better. Okay, Cassie, I'm going to take you off mute if you would like to talk. Oh, or I saw something drop in the chat. Oh, your chat is disabled. Love that. Okay. Cassie, I just allowed you to talk if you would like to speak and share your answer or question.
They saying the chat is disabled as a group.
That was so interesting.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi. My chat is disabled, so it doesn't allow me to type in anything.
That is so interesting. It is saying, okay, let's see now. Can you see it?
Only can be seen by panelists. So yes, okay.
Okay. All
Thank
right. If y'all were silenced in the last 30 minutes, feel free to write your chats. Also, shout out Cheryl. Cheryl, I know you've been working hard at your school, so I appreciate you seeing you here tonight.
Oh, Florida. Okay, heading there soon. And Miss Cassie, did you have a question or a comment that you needed to ask?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, so I guess I can just ask now.
Go for it.
I was kind of expecting more of like, I did this with my own class this past school year, and I was hoping to get some more ideas about the like fines and bonuses that I could offer to my students from just a classroom point of view.
As a classroom teacher, I mean, I can just kind of piggy just a little bit here. What I tell my teachers is I don't want like a negative connotation, so like the fines and the this and the that. What we do is, and this is just an example, again, if I'm charging, let's say $7.25 an hour and they have an infraction or they get an infraction, instead of paying the full $7.25, they lose money. And so it's not such a negative thing like, oh, that's a fine. It's, hey, you're not going to get paid your full amount. You sure you want to make that choice? Think again. We do focus a lot on restorative practices, though. Clearly, we had a discipline issue that we needed to preserve these kids in the seats, and we try to work with them and coach them as best as we can. So as far as saying like a fine, I try to discourage from that because it has such a negative undertone. As mentioned, we don't rent things, but there are some schools that do, and that's all fine and good too, because they need that to pay for the money that's earned, and that's okay. Everybody has their own little system. You said fines and what else? I'm sorry. It's late.
Bonuses.
Bonuses. We'll give bonuses if those assume leadership roles. If they want to volunteer to sweep their classroom, we know that's going to help out a custodian at some point during the day. If they want to empty their trash, tied up, put it out. Again, this is going to be probably something that would need to be discussed systematically with the school building level administrators to see what they would allow to do. But as far as bonuses, it might be stepping up to be a leader, being a peer-to-peer helper some kind of way. That's something that you in your classroom, and depending on your grade, age, opportunities, would have to kind of roll around.
For sure. And just from my point of view, where part of my role is I meet with schools all the time, bonuses really ebb and flow depending on your setting. So if you are a PBIS school and you kind of adhere to those expectations, what we see for bonuses is feel free to start with those broad expectations, but also operationalize them. So what does it mean to be respectful? Make that a specific bonus of it means that you are quiet, or it means hands to self. In terms of fines too, you can lean into fines or lean out of fines. At my school, when we rolled out ClassBank, we kind of kept it in the middle where we set fines to 0. So it was a data point, but it didn't take money away from students. So again, kind of work with what you have, but really look at those tiered interventions and what are those behaviors that you're looking at the tier 1 level and what applies most. And the best part about having a digital system is you can change on the fly. So feel free to really work with it and see where everything shakes out throughout the year. Does that answer your question? Oh, go ahead.
That's great. We'll do like staffalty awards too, and students like we'll focus on a characteristic, and those nominations come from staff, come from fellow students, and then we'll pick, highlights, if you will, and we'll give them like canteen credits, or we'll give them some certain bonuses that way as well within the ClassBank system. Again, it just depends on what's going on.
All right. Well, I see Cheryl has another question. How do you get your whole building on the same page? What are generic jobs to use to start? And I will shout out Cheryl. She has been working for a year to get her school to get on board. So would love to hear your tips, Alice.
So this looks like it's a two for how do I get my building to all operate the same way? Is that the expectation is kind of something? Well, I'll tell you again, you heard in the video, we had Teacher Tuesdays. We coached our teachers. We set out the expectations that this is how we're going to do it. Almost like a non-negotiable, like we need to get on the same page. What are your values? What are your vision? And how we expect to get there. And so, of course, it takes a lot of conversations. My teachers have 2 planning periods a day. We have a data tracking period and we have a collaboration period. And so in the very beginning, we had a lot of those conversations. How can we make it better? What are your pains? What are your aches? Why can't you do this? Is there something that's stopping you? Can I help you? Can I coach you? ClassBank is very good about doing PD. If you can't get it right, then I need you to sit in on this professional development and ask your questions and maybe hear it from somebody other than me. Again, though, taking baby steps. Again, the first year I said, let's just practice on depositing and doing those transactions, depositing and cashing out. Let's just focus on that and let's see where our pains are. Are our prices set the right way? Do we need to go higher? Do we need to go lower? So as far as being on the same page, it's an expectation that's laid out. And that's just what I from the top down. Generic jobs that can be used. Obviously, you have your announcers. Now we'll go back and forth on announcements because we do have a communications department. So one day a week they'll do like an overall announcement of, hey, a peek at a week, what's happening, and they'll do a piece. But we've gotten those to do like during Black History Month, we had some guest students on the airwaves that they would do. Again, they can empty trash cans. We do breakfast, lunch, and we have afternoon snack that requires some lots of trash bagging, sweeping the floor, cleaning the windows. They might want to vacuum. Some have asked, hey, can I come vacuum your office? Absolutely. Come on. Anything that's going to make somebody else's job just a little bit easier is always helpful. We have a board where we write our lunch, and somebody that draws really well would come and they might want to write the lunch. Okay. They might want to wipe tables in the cafeteria. They might want to use, sweep the sidewalk outside. I mean, of course, your infrastructure is going to determine what kind of things you can and can't do as far as those kind of jobs. We never clean bathrooms. We never do those kinds of things. And oftentimes if we think it's compromising in any shape, form, or fashion, we will contact home for permission before we do anything.
Amazing. That is a great kind of leeway. And too, Cheryl, if you want to hop on at any time, we can kind of talk through your specific school too, if you want to bring in your new principal as well. But it's been a long night. Alice, we so appreciate you. This was amazing. I'm going to get all of these resources to y'all hopefully by tomorrow at noon. So you will have it paper, reflect, review, of course, put it away over the weekend, though. I want you guys to enjoy your weekend and not think about school. But I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Alice, thank you so much again. You are amazing and you're doing amazing work, and we so appreciate you.
You're very welcome. Thank y'all for taking this time in the night, especially late like this. If anybody does have any questions, though, and needs to have any further communications, please get with Miss Harlan and she can give you my contact information. I endorse that. We all in this thing together, so there's no secrets, just whatever needs to be.
Amazing. You're the best, Alice. Everyone who stayed, thank you so much. And again, we'll get everything that you need to you tomorrow. All right, y'all, signing off. See you
Have a good
soon.
one. Bye-bye.
Bye.